Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with all the drama over the last few days, one of the spiciest things was Octane looking at who the most overrated player right now is in the CDL, looking at FaZe Cellium and saying that undisputedly that guy is overrated. He doesn't back down on this, doesn't say, oh, you know what, Cellium, great player, but I was wrong. He says, look, Cellium, great player, world champion, but still, this guy's overrated. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into. Roster stuff as well. I know that people have been joking around as well about Fire 40 to OpTic Tactics because, like, honestly, who knows who they're going to get right now. If anyone, it's a bit of a chaotic situation there. A bit of a chaotic situation. Certainly an understatement. Now, Vinny Gage, you guys might know Vinny, cousin of Zuma. Now, he tweets this out last night before deleting it. Very spicy indeed about one of the CDL franchises. If what I'm hearing is true about this league team, this franchise needs to seriously consider selling its spot next season. A franchise that has an incredible opportunity to build a top 3 or 4 roster every year, continue to let friendships affect the making of the roster. So very interesting tweet, and obviously only a couple of teams this could be referring to. This especially, a franchise that has an incredible opportunity to build a top 3-4 roster. So, I mean, look, you could think, okay, maybe they're talking about London, just because London arguably, you know, with Scraps coming in, is that the best decision for their team? Have they made the best calls over the last couple of years? I think certainly not, but, you know, does London have a chance to be a top 3-4 team every year? Probably not, given their organisation, the spend that they have, stuff like this. So, you know, easy talking about Los Angeles Guerrillas. That's the team that I would look at because LAG, yes, they won that event at Major 2 last season. Incredible fluke if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. Unbelievable that they managed to achieve that, and congratulations for doing so. But the Volk, other factors, the crazy search and destroy run, winning all those game 5s. Remarkable turn of events. But outside of that, they've done basically nothing in the CDL since it launched. They've made a series of questionable roster decisions, to say the least, coming into this season as well. I think everybody knew this LAG team wasn't going to be particularly good. They ran with it anyway, and it obviously has backfired massively. So, and now they're making decisions that Vinny Gage believes, whatever roster he's heard. Look, we heard about Assault, which probably isn't going to happen because Arcitys is now staying. We heard about Diamond Con, we heard about Spart gone, we heard about Neptune probably gone, Huke is maybe staying, and then you've got maybe Exceed out, Joe Deceives in. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's other things they're planning to do, but still not a particularly impressive lineup on paper. And even back in Cold War, right, when they made these decisions, when Mental came into the team, the Gears of War guy, that never really worked out. They put Chino in. They got some results, but they were never any good. And to me, their Cold War season was arguably the most egregious because they basically brought back the World War II winning champs team from 2018 thinking it would work. It was like, that was never going to achieve much, and it didn't. They were tragic all year, apart from that one result they got thanks to Vivid up against FaZe. You guys might remember early part of that season against FaZe. But, I mean, yeah, it's just been tragic since the inception for LAG, and Vinny Gage believes that they should just straight up sell the spot because they're so bad, at least at making decisions. Now, well, actually, Arcitys comes in the reply here. Now, this since got deleted, and he says you should at them. So maybe Arcitys is trying to defend his organisation, or asking for some sort of, you know, at least someone to tell him who he thinks he's talking about here. But, yeah, nonetheless, pretty interesting stuff, and maybe an indication that whatever roster LAG are building over there behind the scenes, once again, might not be the best they have available to them. But, you know, maybe they made their bed before the season began by rejecting potential players they could have got in favour of that Spart, Neptune, and Huke trio that didn't really do all that much last season. And even as Arcitys says, all of it will pay off soon, just got to keep being a better me. So, you know, he reckons that maybe the team is going to deliver some results. But nonetheless, Arcitys made it quite clear that he wanted to dip from LAG if he could to go to join OpTic. So, yeah, I wonder what the organisation of the team thinks about that one. You can understand it, but nonetheless, I don't have too much faith in Los Angeles Guerrillas. And, yeah, just hope they can build, because they've got so much money to build such a competitive team, but they've just never really ever managed to achieve it, at least for a consistent basis. Now, speaking of other roster changes, firstly, we know that Parasite, of course, is making that return to the Challenger side. He's teaming with Fire again, pretty cool stuff. So Parasite, Fire +2, we'll see that, I believe, here in a second. Mohawk as well, quick note on him, because obviously he won you know, the last 2 Challengers World Championships in a row, looking again for, you know, some sort of spot in the Challenger side, or in the Pro League. Who knows what could be possible here, because Mohawk's been a player in conversation for quite some time. Drazah's quite clear here from Thieves that, you know, he's got to prove them wrong again, get back a spot somewhere, but who knows where that's going to be, especially because other rosters are being formed. Wardy has now got a team here, so Wardy has replaced Phantoms on this Yee's Classic and Rex roster. Phantoms a weird player in terms of his career, because at some point he was even on Evil Geniuses in the Pro League back in Black Ops 4, was really hyped up and considered to be one of the next up ARs. Never really worked out for him, to be honest, and now they're changing around their roster composition seemingly quite significantly over there. Classic, of course, you guys will know, the FaZe sub for this season. And then Johnny and Jimbo rounded out with Parasite and Fire Fire. So yeah, Johnny Jimbo from that Paris team joined by Fire, formerly of Paris, and then at Parasite is going to be joining the boys as well. So yeah, Mohawk, Wardy, Johnny and Jimbo broken up. That's now what's going on over there. And these are some of the other rosters. We looked at a couple of these. Hamza, Gio, Fellow and John. I think we saw that one. This is Phantom's new team, and then some notable free agents. So that's all the drama with the Challenger side, and there is still going to be plenty of it. Quick note as well, because we haven't seen too much of this so far, but when the season starts again, I believe January the 13th, we shall see the new patch update in effect. And many have said that the new spawns under this new patch, we haven't really talked about much, because I think it came out before the major, but at the major they still played on the old patch. They don't have to deal with the new patch update during the weekend, as we have had back in the day in Call of Duty. But it does mean that for the practice that's going on now, there is some questionable spawns happening. People say on Hydro, people say on other maps as well, the spawns are way worse than they were before. Wouldn't put it past Infinity Ward to have done something like that. And, you know, Sasha's like, look, let's get rid of Fortress and never play Bocage again either from last season. But let's talk about the Cellium stuff then, right? So a few days ago, we've seen plenty of conversations on this from Nadejot, from Standy, and then from Octane, who came out and said, yeah, if I want to make a list of overrated players, Cellium would be at number 1. And we thought, okay, is Octane going to back down? Is he going to say, oh, you know, I was wrong about that. My bad, Cellium. Like, I didn't mean to say it like that or whatever, just trolling around. But no, he comes back in the replies and makes it quite clear that he does indeed believe that, yes, Cellium's a great player, very talented, won the World Championship, right, in of course, Black Ops Cold War, and has been great for many years. Was, I thought, maybe at his best even when he was on that Cold War team, when he was just a really aggressive, fast-paced player. Nowadays, you don't really see that anymore, and it does feel like Cellium has stepped into the kind of star player role. Simp is now no longer the star player of the team, and, you know, ever since that's happened, they're not really winning anymore. So I think there are some questions to answer there from the FaZe side, because it's the same story so far this season with Sasha as it was the last season with Arcitys. Not to say that, you know, Sasha's the problem, or to say that Arcitys was the problem, but maybe there was something else going on there. So Octane basically doubled down on this and was asked the question, you know, what, you know, do you regret what you said, or whatever the case was. I think he was reading the Reddit thread, actually, of people responding to this, and he was like, well, yeah, look, Cellium is still the most overrated in my opinion. Yes, great player, very talented player, but still overrated by, you know, fans and players alike.
Octane is just so mid. His point of view doesn't matter that much. It let a FaZe player. You get on, moron. Yeah, that's my bad, though. I actually really like MC, and I do think he's really good at COD, obviously. He's a world champion, and he's insane. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's overrated. That is the answer to the question, is my opinion. And, of course, they didn't add that part in, because why would they? Jack, can I get some Octane to some mids, please? Thank you. All right, let's go see what Tommy's doing.
Now, this to me was especially interesting just in light of what was the case a couple of years ago. There's a reason why Octane got his nickname, the Human Turret, let's just say. And this, you know, part of it originates back to the Modern Warfare 2019 season, where Clayster, of course, won the World Championship that year on the Dallas Empire. And there was one really spicy piece of drama, actually, that happened after the season concluded. And I'll share the beautiful thumbnail from my video at the time in a second here, where Clayster was talking about Octane and other players, and basically saying that, like, these guys weren't helping their team. They were sitting in windows, they were getting kills that were basically irrelevant to the outcome of the game. Clay was a great player in Modern Warfare, had a solid KD, dropped like a 1.1, probably 1.05, something in that ballpark, but, you know, his team won the World Championship. Seattle Surge, that Octane was on at the time, was a terrible team, never won anything. Similar story in a way to what Waskin was doing at London. Waskin had multiple events or even maps and series where he would have a 1.3, 1.4 KD, but the team would lose or it would go game 5. And yes, London had a solid year in Modern Warfare. They, I think, came top 4 at the World Championship that year, but Seattle had a terrible year, and most of the best teams, their ARs weren't dropping crazy numbers. And we did like the tier list at the time for the ARs and certain other players, and it was like, okay, which ARs are actually the best here? Is Octane the best because he's got a 1.4? Is Waskin the best because he's got a 1.35? Or is Clay one of the best because he's got a 1.1, but his team's actually winning? So here we go, then trip down memory lane here, November the 10th, 2020, managed to find this up here on Google. So anyway, Clayster calls out Octane for sitting in a window. So that's basically what he said in that clip there, that he was like, yeah, Octane and other players weren't really doing that much, and Octane, of course, has his experience and what Cellium's now feeling on the other side of things. So you guys can actually see the stats here. I put them on the thumbnail. I mean, what a thumbnail this is, to be honest. It's so messy, but it's kind of beautiful at the same time. It's got some character, at least. And this is probably for one event here back in the Modern Warfare season, when you guys can see the 5-man team of Seattle Surge. Terrible team, obviously. aBeZy, Enable, Karma, Octane, and Slacked. At this particular event, it was a Karma 0.9, and aBeZy's got a 1.1. 1.1, and aBeZy sat to 0.85, and then Octane has a 1.4 KD. And we saw this so often during that season when Octane would sit there on aBeZy Cave, posted up on a head glitch, dropping a ridiculous numbers. Like, because look, the guy shoots very straight indeed. He could drop insane numbers if he wanted to, and his team would maybe win by 20, maybe they'd lose by 50. It didn't seem to matter what numbers Octane dropped, the team's results were the same. And the question was at the time, you know, was the team happy with that? Was Octane just playing for kills? Like, should they change up their playstyle at the time? And you guys can see by comparison, of course, I mean, look, the Dallas Empire team was different. They had iLLeY, they had Huke, they had Shotzzy. Like, obviously their SMG line was going to be stronger than Seattle's, but regardless, Clay had a 1.1, Crim had like a 1.0 pretty much. That was their AR duo, and yet they would still be winning series, championships, and won the World Championship of the year in a pretty dominant fashion up against Atlanta FaZe that arguably had more skill, and also that team at the time had Cellium on. So it seems to me that Octane has plenty of experience being on the other side of the table here, where he was being called for quite some time. You know, the guy playing for kills, the guy who's overrated. Like, okay, he shoots straight, but he never delivers results. And now maybe he finds himself on the other side of the coin, where Octane statistically at the start of this stage and last year as well hasn't looked so good. Like, I mean, look at his KD. He's got a 1.0 in hardpoint, 0.99, 0.9 in search and destroy. Like, that's a far cry from what he was doing before, but his team now is more successful than it was before. And of course, he won the World Championship last year, not doing anything crazy in terms of numbers. Probably had like a 1.07, 1.1 or something last year at the World Championship. Like, you know, that's maybe where he should be rather than dropping a 1.4. So now the question turns to Cellium and FaZe. Now, FaZe are so good that I think, like, he can basically do whatever and they'll still be good enough. You know what I mean? Like, they're still getting top 3s. It's not like Cell's dropping a 1.3 and they're getting top 8 every event, like Seattle Surge were. He's dropping a 1.3 and they're getting top 2 or top 3. So that's where it's difficult for FaZe, because they're still placing very nicely with Cellium playing the way that he currently is. If you're Clayster in the Octane example from a couple of years ago, you can look at that and say, okay, well, Octane's sitting in a window dropping a 1.4 and his team's getting top 8, top 12 every event. Obviously, he's not playing the game the right way. Whereas when Cellium's playing that way, or similar way, let's say, getting a 1.3, not necessarily playing with his team, but the team's still making Sundays, making grand finals, it's like, well, you know, is he really playing the game wrong? Kind of tough to say. So that's the difficulty here. I do wonder if Octane kind of just believes in what he's saying about Cellium, just because he felt like maybe he feels in a similar way to what he was like a few years ago, where he was playing like that, and he realizes maybe he wasn't doing that much on the map either, and was still getting gassed up by fans, as Octane was getting gassed up by fans. Like, Octane was one of the highest rated, highest considered players in that whole season. Like, I don't know where he came in the Breaking Point rankings that year, but it was pretty high, to be honest. And everyone was gassing up Octane really hard, and maybe he realizes, yeah, my Modern Warfare season didn't really do that much, to be honest. Maybe he didn't deserve to be rated as highly as he was, and maybe feels like similar things happening to Cellium right now. So yeah, we'll see over the coming days, but I thought that was just an interesting kind of a historical analysis to bring to you guys there that I thought about last night. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Quick thing here from Paulex, getting some scrims ready to go, because we believe now he's back there in the challenger side. London have dropped him for scraps, we believe. So we'll see how that goes over the coming days. And if you guys want something else to watch here, there's been some absolutely cracking title thumbnail combinations here for the Breaking Point boys over the last few days. And yeah, this is the World War II edition of the COD Clutches. That was combined with arguably the most egregious title I've seen the boys come up with yet. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.